I have Ari Aster, the writer and director, with me right here. Hi, Ari.
Hi.
I have to say, when I came out of that film yesterday, I said to my producer Frank, I said, the first question I want to ask him is like, are you okay? Is everything all right with you?
I'm all right.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
It's a terrifying film, if you don't mind me saying.
Thank you.
That's good, hey? You're happy with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a horror movie. I wanted to scare you.
Is it a horror movie?
Well, yes, it is. But even while I was pitching it, trying to get financing, I was kind of careful not to describe it as one. The way I was describing it was as a family tragedy that curdles into a nightmare, in the same way that life can feel like a nightmare when disaster strikes, and so that's what the movie aims to be.
What's it like watching an audience take in this movie? Because when you make these films, you spend hours in a dark editing room and thinking about this film. I mean, how long did you work on this film? From conception to...
From conception? Well, I probably wrote it around 4 years ago. And then, then there's the obligatory hustling, just trying to get it made.
So how do you find watching people in theaters see this film? Squirm.
Well, it's funny because at least I forgot exactly what I was trying to make, because you get so lost in the minutia of making a film and executing everything, and then you if you're like me and you're very neurotic, then you become obsessed with all the things that that you weren't quite able to get right. And so when we first screened it at Sundance, I was just very nervous that people were gonna not like it. And the visual effects weren't finished, and I was worried that people were gonna see that. And so my first feeling was one of real relief.
Yeah. When people started...
Well,
but it's
well,
funny.
People didn't hate it,
But it's not like a comedy movie where you can judge it on laughs.
No, but it is. But horror is a lot like comedy in that sense, in that you feel whether it's working or not.
Right.
I mean, I had actually forgotten that I was making a horror movie, because I got so lost in all that minutia
Of the family drama side of it. Yeah.
Exactly. And you just you get lost in the details, even the scary scenes. You're at least I was looking at them as a technician,
Right.
And so
you don't get scared watching it. You don't.
No. I mean, I see the seams, but but the first and especially the second screening at Sundance were kind of revelatory for me, in that I remembered all of a sudden, like, oh right, 4 years ago I set out to make a horror movie, and I did want to scare people, and because it really was palpable in the audience. You could feel a great deal of tension, and then the second screening.
Second Screaming is the name of the next one.
In the second screening, you there were people who were audibly upset. There was a woman just behind me who kept repeating too much, which was great.
Yeah.
And then there are a lot of scenes that seem to elicit screams from people. And there were at least 4 moments that had the entire audience kind of screaming in unison.
I saw it with hardened press people, and there was like 6 of us in the entire theater, and even you heard a lot of "oh God," and, oh yeah. And I said to our technician out there, Mitch Stewart, I said to him, he said, I don't really like, because I'm not one for horror films, and he said I don't really like horror films, and I said I think you should go see it, just because it's interesting to see. It's interesting to feel a way you didn't think you could ever feel. Like I felt another level of terror, like media terror.
Wow.
That I was like, I didn't know I could feel this way.
Wow.
Like I didn't know I could have almost a panic attack because of a movie. Like I didn't know.
Really?
That, and it was mainly audio based. You know that.
Yeah.
It was mainly just the music made me kind of really, really upset.
Right.
Times,
Well, there's even we have this like sub drone that you don't hear so much as you feel it in your stomach, and that goes for like almost 15 minutes at one point, and I and so that
is that the same. Yeah, no. We'll do that afterwards. We'll do that afterwards. That's fine.
It is meant to, it is meant to kind of not just get under your skin, but get into your guts. Like really, the movie's working a lot with dread, and I'm hoping that Well, it sounds like it worked on you.
It did. I can hear, by the way, if you're listening to this, I can hear you yelling at your radio, yelling, what's the movie about? For God's sake, what's the movie about? Where did you get the idea for this film?
Well, God, I don't really know where the idea originated. It came to me in images and like set pieces. There were just scenes that came to me first, and those are, I think when you see the film, you could probably guess what those scenes are because they're pretty momentous in the context of the movie. But from there, I just I wanted to make. I guess I wanted to make a film in the tradition of the great horror films of like the 60s and the 70s. I was thinking a lot about Rosemary's Baby and Don't Look Now. I was thinking about Nicholas Roeg in general, and Jack Clayton's The Innocents, and that I wanted to make a film that was that was very patient and character driven, and I wanted to I wanted to really make sure that I was making like a vivid family drama before anything else, and then to have the horror elements grow out of those people and their situation and their dynamic and ultimately their suffering, because it is a very sorrowful, elegiac film that is about death, and it's about grief and trauma. But I feel like there is this trend among domestic tragedies and domestic dramas, especially in the States, in America, where people suffer a loss and then their lives are thrown into crisis and things get very tumultuous for a while and things get very hairy, but then ultimately their bonds are strengthened and everybody's going to be okay. And there's nothing inherently false about that.
One of your characters, I don't think this is giving anything away, kind of says that. Like, this really should bring us together. We really should learn from something like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess I wanted to make a film where it doesn't always happen that way. Some people are taken down, and some people don't recover, and I wanted to make a film about that. But if you make that as a drama, then one, good luck finding financing, and then if you have found the financing, good luck recouping. But what can be a deterrent in one genre, if it's too bleak, too hopeless, too dark, suddenly becomes a virtue in another. And the horror genre is really good for that. So I wanted to be honest about that original intention and make that movie, but at the same time, the horror genre demands a certain amount of catharsis, and so I was making that movie plus the catharsis that is demanded by the genre.
And you mentioned this in a couple of interviews I read, but I feel like no one ever follows up on it. But you mentioned a couple of times that you even felt this sort of way about your own family growing up, that you felt your own family, you had a certain sadness in your own family as well.
Well, it's not so much. I can just say that.
I'm not asking you to, of course.
No. I can just say that the film is definitely rooted in like raw feelings. But yeah, my family and I together kind of went through a few very, very, very rough years. And the prevailing feeling became that we were cursed.
You were cursed.
Which I think is, I think that's, I think people can relate to that feeling.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of my way in to the story was, well, what, I want to make a film about a family that feels like they're cursed, and ultimately it turns out that they are.
Has your family seen the film?
My mom saw an early cut.
And what did they think?
I mean, she really loved it. But my parents are artists, and my mom's this really brilliant poet. Her name's Bobby Lurie, and she used to be a really wonderful visual artist. She still is a wonderful visual artist. And my dad's a jazz drummer who used to be an R&B drummer. And so, they've always been extremely supportive of me and encouraging. And I think in many ways that's why I'm able to make films this dark, is because I don't feel like I'd be disappointing anybody.
Right, yeah.
If anything, I feel like my mom will be. She tends to really respond to darker material. I remember when I was young, like she and I would go to movies, and we had the same favorite films. Like we saw The Piano Teacher when I was very young, or Dogville, and I think other people were horrified in the audience that we were just like almost cheering in the back row at these extremely bleak movies. But yeah, so if anything, that's been just sort of galvanizing.
If you're just tuning in, I'm speaking with Ari Aster, the filmmaker behind a new, incredibly terrifying film called Hereditary. It's being called the scariest film in years. I want to talk about Toni Collette's performance in Hereditary. I mean, as soon as she came on screen, I was searching my brain for where I saw her last, and I think the last role I've seen her in a film like that would be like The Sixth Sense. That was immediately what came to mind. In this film, she has to go to some, really incredibly dark places. When we meet her character, she's dealing with the death of her mother. She has to deal with other things. Again, it's really hard to talk about this film without spoiling it, but I'm doing my best. But her role in the film, in many ways, is to act out the most intense kind of grief possible. First off, was it challenging to convince her to take the role?
Well, I can't say it was a challenge to convince her to take the role, but we were always aware that we needed an actress of great talent to take this role on. Happily, she was one of the first people that we approached, and she responded to the part, and we met for lunch, and not long after that, she accepted the role, and that's really what made the film real. That kind of put the train on the tracks and gave us the momentum we needed to get the film going. And it was less than a year after that we were in production on the film.
Has she seen the film?
Oh yeah. And she's very happy. But she's incredible.
Is there any fear you have of asking? I'm not a filmmaker, so this might be a very simple question for someone like you, but do you have any recalcitrance at all in asking someone to go to those places that she has to go to in that film?
Well, it's in the script, so it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
If an actor is going to accept the part, it's clear what they're taking on.
Yeah.
And I told her when we first met, I'm looking for kind of a kamikaze performance. Like I want somebody to go to deep, dark, kind of dangerous places.
The real depths of humanity, and then past humanity. Yeah.
Yeah. And to her credit, she took it on, and she jumped in with a real lack of vanity, and and I'd been watching her for a long time. I'd been a fan since Muriel's Wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was like 19, 20 when she did that.
Mm-hmm.
And she always struck me as just one of our most reliable actresses. But I'd never seen her chew apart the scenery in the way that she does in this film.
Mm-hmm.
And
but it's funny you mentioned 1920 because there are younger actors in this film as well. Alex Wolff, one of the leads, is 20, I think.
Yeah. And he was 19 when we made the film.
So, and Millie Shapiro's in her teens. I'm not entirely sure how old she is.
She's 14. She might be 15. But I mean, she won a Tony when she was 10 years old.
Matilda, right?
For playing Matilda on Broadway.
But these are young actors who have to go to incredibly dark places, especially Millie. She's a child, and she has to go to incredibly dark places to make this film. How do you make sure they're okay, when they're filming this?
Well, in Millie's case, she loves horror films, and she made it clear very early on that she was very okay with the stuff that happens in this film.
Do not baby me here. I'm ready for this.
Oh no, she was very excited, and there would be times that I would be, maybe a little bit concerned about how she would, handle one thing or another. But I mean, she was so happy to be on set and so excited to be creepy. She would even ask me, "Do you think this is gonna be creepy? Is this gonna be creepy?" Just very giddy, about the idea.
So was that darkness, that tension I was feeling? Was that Was that anywhere on set, like when the cameras were off?
Well, in some cases, yes. I mean, with Millie, she's the opposite of Charlie, the character that she plays in the film. She's so precocious and so happy. With Alex Wolff, who plays Peter, he is somebody who really went to those dark places. He's more method in the way he works.
So you were talking to him as Peter.
Yeah, I was talking to him as Peter.
Oh my Lord!
For about 2 months, and he was really in it for that time. And I mean, I don't know if he'd like me saying this, but you know, on the last day when we wrapped, he came up to me saying, "Hey, like now I'm Alex."
So he like shook your hand and said, "Hey, nice to meet you."
Hey, nice to meet you.
Yeah, right.
In a much happier register than I had heard in a long time. But he really, I mean, it at times that felt dangerous. Like he was going to extremely dark places. And ultimately, as a director, you can only be grateful because we didn't know if we were going to find an actor who could do what I wanted, what I was looking for. Because Peter is playing PTSD, and there's nothing worse than an actor playing PTSD.
Yeah,
you know, it can be it could so easily just be over the top or embarrassing, and I mean. I wouldn't like advocate for people doing this, but Alex seemed to have PTSD for the film. Like I don't know what he did in preparation for it, but he really it was in his chemistry what he was doing. It was really amazing to watch.
Again, this is Hereditary is such a terrifying film, and even the trailer is terrifying. And I'm sure you've seen some of those reaction videos to the trailer. And after I came back from watching the film yesterday, I said to my producer Frank, and he said, you know, how was it? And I said, well, you know, it was really awful. And he texted me back. He just said, well, I can't say the word he wrote, but he said, "Effed up, man." Effed up. And our Catherine, who's sitting out there right now, and a couple of the producers on the show, they all gathered around the computer to watch the trailer because they were so interested in what we had found so terrifying. And even then, without any audio, they were like rocked scared of it. Like they were terrified of it. And I heard that trailer aired before Peter Rabbit, like the kids' film.
Yeah, apparently.
This is true?
Yeah. I mean, it's a
bunch of kids went in to see.
I don't know how it happened. I don't know how these. I don't know. I would think that these trailers would already be kind of pre-selected, and you know, yeah. I wouldn't. I don't know how that happened, but I love that it happened.
I was going to ask, how do you feel about it?
I mean, it's really good PR. Like it's great. I mean, it's funny because I don't see the trailers being that scary. I love the trailer. I think A24 has done like an amazing job with the marketing, and it's been so exciting to watch as a first-time filmmaker. But it is funny that even the trailer has gained that reputation. I wonder if the movie, you know, doubles down on it. If it serves as a surprise to people. I don't. Yeah.
It doubles down on it. I can tell you. I think it doubles down on it. Do you get scared by films?
I mean, when I was a kid, there were a few films that really like wrecked me. And sometimes I do get scared by films. But you know, when I was a kid, you know, Brian De Palma's Carrie really upset me in a very, very deep way. I saw it when I was, I think, 11 or 12. And
also, no resolution there either. Like no great resolution there either. You know?
No, I mean, it's a deeply sad horror film. It's also very funny. It's very campy. I watched it again recently, and I was shocked at how campy it was. Although I shouldn't be shocked because that's De Palma. But my memories were of just the heaviest film imaginable.
So you can relate to that experience of leaving the theater, your heart still kind of racing. And one of my producers told me I was kind of pale when I came back from the film. But you can relate to this.
Well, in that case, I watched the film, wasn't that upset by it. You know, I was like, oh, that was good. And then it was when I tried going to bed that, you know, the images were like really not going away. And then they were getting worse. And they were just preying on that film really insinuated itself into my consciousness. And that was a film that just I think that's where I realized like the power of the image. And then there's another film called called The Cook, the Thief, His Wife and Her Lover by Peter Greenaway. And that film isn't technically a horror film, but it is deeply upsetting, and it's working with the grotesque, and dealing with very ugly human behavior, and then it's like a highly aestheticized, extremely artificial vision with lots of like Brechtian distancing techniques, and it's just anybody who's seen it won't forget it. But that film I saw when I was too young. And that really affected me. Its images really stayed with me. I know that film was rated NC-17. It was the first NC-17 film, and he asked what he could do to change the rating to an R, and they said nothing. It's the tone,
Right.
and that makes sense to me because the tone is so punishing, and just it's a film that feels evil. And so, when I set out to make this film, I was thinking about those. I was thinking that I wanted to make a film that didn't have. There are a couple instances of jump scares.
Yeah, just a couple. Yeah.
But I was kind of trying to avoid them. So the jump scares that are there, kind of I couldn't avoid, right? So I wasn't looking for them.
And I think they're useful. I think they are. Yeah. They don't seem gratuitous. They really are useful.
Good, because I ultimately put they are in there because I really couldn't find a way to not have them in there. So hopefully they feel like honestly earned. But beyond that, I wanted to make a film that kind of stares the audience in the eye and gives them images that are meant to kind of burn themselves into your mind. So it is a film that isn't. It's not. It's I feel goes down another route that's kind of far away from something that's more that's being used more traditionally these days, which is that it's not a film that capitalizes on jump scares or
torture
or like excessive gore, but it is a film that that really like kind of dares you to look away, and I'm hoping that the film is kind of quiet in surprising ways. It's very loud and it's very extreme and it's very melodramatic. I think it owes probably a greater debt to the domestic melodrama than it does even to the horror genre. But the goal was always to make something that was simultaneously kind of quiet.
I think you made something that will linger with us for a very long time. And I tell you, it's exciting to talk to you so early in all this because I think this is. Are you ready for how big this film is going to be?
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to jinx it, but
I'll tell you, it's going to be pretty big. Like it's going to be like I got out of the film and I was already searching for fan theories, and it's not even out yet. So
wow.
Once that starts, I mean, I have so many questions anyway, but.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. It would come back when you're, on Mount Rushmore or something like that.
I would love to come back. This has been a really lovely conversation.